So welcome everyone. This is day 3 of the Buchanan River Fest. Today we have an exciting panelist. We're going to be discussing water quality issues in the Buchanan River and throughout the state. So we have a great panel with us today. We'll go through introductions here in a minute. Just to give you a lay of the land, we're using the Zoom platform. We are recording. We're also broadcasting live on Facebook. And so how the structure is going to go today, we'll give everyone that's with us. We have about 8 to 10 groups that are going to be talking about their organization and the work that they do on water quality. And so we'll hold questions till the end to give everybody a chance to talk about their organization. So if you have questions, you can enter those into the chat box at any time. And then we'll, if they're for a specific group or person, you can put that in the chat. And then at the end, after everybody has given their introductions, we can go through and answer those questions. So I'll start us off. I'm Autumn Crow. I'm the staff scientist with West Virginia Rivers Coalition. We have partnered with Mountain Lakes Preservation Alliance and the city of Buchanan to host this River Fest. Obviously this year it's virtual. So this is day 3. We have 2 other days of activities. Or no, wait, this is day 4. Yeah. So we have 3 days of previous activities that you can find on Facebook. And I just wanted to announce the winner of yesterday's door prize was Father Tenna. And so we will be selecting a winner for today's door prize from the people that have registered on Zoom. So West Virginia Rivers Coalition is a statewide organization. We are a policy and advocacy. We strive to make sure all of our rivers in West Virginia are swimmable, drinkable, and fishable. We have several programs. Our Safe Water for West Virginia program works with water utilities to help educate about source water protection, drinking water protection. And that program was developed after the chemical spill. So this Riverfest actually came out of our Safe Water for West Virginia program. We were working with the City of Buchanan Water Department and the Mountain Lakes Preservation Alliance, the Buchanan River Watershed, and decided that this Buchanan Riverfest was a good way for us to educate the community about drinking water protection and all the work that the water department in Buchanan does to make sure that they are providing clean water from the river to the tap. So this Buchanan Riverfest is actually part of our Safe Water for West Virginia program. We also have programs on climate change, public lands issues. We do a lot of water policy work on the state and federal level to make sure that there are adequate regulations in place to protect our water. And then we also work with community groups and citizens and have a citizen monitoring program to train citizens how to protect their water resources in their backyards. So that's a little bit about West Virginia Rivers Coalition. And I'll just go through my list of people that I can see in my video and call on the next group. So Leah with Moms Clean Air Force, would you like to go next?
Absolutely. Hey, everybody. I'd like to begin by expressing my appreciation for all the hard work and dedication that all of the individuals, groups, and organizations here today are doing in efforts to preserve the integrity of our wild waters here in our beloved state of West Virginia. It means a whole lot. Again, my name is Leah Barber. I'm the field organizer for Moms Clean Air Force's West Virginia chapter. I'm here today happy to share about the work we're doing at a national level and how it kind of translates to some of the work we're doing here in West Virginia. A little bit about Moms Clean Air Force. Our mission is to protect children from air pollution and climate change. We are a community of over 1 million moms, dads, and caregivers united against air pollution, including the urgent crisis of our changing climate in order to protect our children's health. We work across the U.S. on national and local policy issues through a vibrant network of state-based field teams. We believe strongly that protecting our children's health is a nonpartisan issue. Sometimes we even think of ourselves as mom partisan. Our moms meet with lawmakers at every level of government on both sides of the political aisle to build support for common sense solutions to pollution and also to climate change. We do so because we envision a safe, stable future where all children can breathe clean air and also have access to clean water. So our work in West Virginia currently focuses on amplifying voices who are demanding real and tangible climate action, up to our congressional leaders, those who have the power to positively impact our future by taking action now in order to promote environmental justice, peace, and good health. So our work promoting water quality in the state of West Virginia has really been centered in raising awareness to the congressional representatives around the importance of the mercury and air toxic standards. I think as many of you know, mercury is a potent neurotoxin that's largely emitted by coal-fired power plants. They emit 42% of all human-caused mercury pollution in the United States. And I think if I am still correct on this, there are 0 bodies of water in West Virginia that do not have fish advisories due to mercury and PCB contamination. And the danger that we really focus on here at Moms Clean Air Force is just how that air pollution translates and becomes bioavailable through microbial processes that they kind of like accumulate in fatty tissues in aquatic life. And when that's consumed, methylmercury is a very potent neurotoxin that has very damaging, potentially damaging effects on fetal brain development. And so we have been working closely with Senator Manchin on this issue as he serves on the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. And so far has been an ally in speaking out against the rollback of these life-saving protections. And you know, while it's unimaginable that in the midst of a lethal respiratory pandemic that the EPA would attack our life-saving mercury and air toxic standards, it's really just coming all at one time, steamrolling really numerous other recent attacks on our clean air protections, including issuing a waiver of pollution enforcement during the coronavirus pandemic, gutting our clean car standards, which was the United States' like only really solid climate protection moving forward, and refusing to protect Americans from deadly particulate matter pollution as well. I'm gonna drop a few links in the comment. Here's a timeline that our organization put together that kind of emphasizes some of those rollbacks and how they've moved forward over and through the COVID pandemic. So that's just to say that another large component of the work that we're doing here in West Virginia is to hold the EPA's feet to the fire with accountability as they push through these senseless rollbacks that have negative effects on our health and on the environment. And we do so by trying to, like I said, amplify local voices. We are here to advocate for the health and well-being of West Virginia families. If anybody has any climate concerns or would like to amplify your voice, explore more ways to become involved, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. An upcoming event that we are currently organizing for, and we're calling all West Virginia families to participate. We usually in July have what's called our play-in for climate action. And that's where Moms Clean Air Force takes West Virginia families from all over the country to the Hill. And we get families, kids, everybody in the offices where we talk about climate change and children's health, and basically just become present to demand that climate action that that is so critical right now. But in light of our, of what's going on in the world, we have to protect ourselves and our neighbors. And So we are trying to leverage every virtual technology that we have to get moms in the room still with congressional leaders, and specifically Senator Joe Manchin. We would like to, we've had these events across our different states. You can see some examples of them on our website of how they've gone forward. They've been really fun and really successful. A lot of kids becoming engaged, and it's just a really great way to put a different lens on climate messaging, and it seems to be really well received. So like I said, looking for families who would like to participate in that kind of engagement with Senator Manchin at present, and also just open to any questions or concerns, or any way that we may be able to support you in your climate goals moving forward. So like I said, I appreciate everybody's time here today, and I look forward to hearing more about what everybody else is up to. Bunch.
Thanks, Leah. Okay, I'm just gonna call on people. So Eric, are you ready to go?
I sure am. Thanks, Autumn. My name is Eric Engel. I'm here today on behalf of the Sierra Club of West Virginia, and I'll drop a link to our website here in the chat in just a moment. I wear a lot of hats. I'm also chairman of an organization called Mid-Ohio Valley Climate Action in West Virginia and Ohio, and I'm actually on the board of directors for the West Virginia Rivers Coalition, and I'm so thrilled with all of these organizations, but I'm here today on behalf of the Sierra Club to talk a little bit about what we do. I'm the executive committee co-chair there. So when it comes to clean water, one of the most effective things that the Sierra Club of West Virginia, or the Sierra Club nationally, does is litigation. So recently, for example, there was a federal court decision that was issued regarding a company owned by the Jim Justice family for over 3,000 violations of the Clean Water Act. The Sierra Club, as well as representatives or other organizations represented here today, were plaintiffs in that suit, and this was something that we were very proud to be part of, to hold companies and individuals and families accountable for violations of our incredibly important laws, rules, and regulations regarding clean water. So that's something that the Sierra Club is heavily focused on. We publish a quarterly magazine called the Mountain State Sierran, which always has a lot of great information about what we're doing in the state. And we've definitely been opposed to pipeline projects like the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, and we continue to oppose those pipeline projects and those oil and gas projects and that build out of that infrastructure that is going to be a threat to to life here in the state of West Virginia. When you're trying to build this infrastructure along our hills and valleys, that is extremely challenging, and it's extremely difficult to do that in a way that is in keeping with the laws, rules, and regs that keep us, our environment, and our public health safe. One such build out that we are opposing, that I know that the Sierra Club has been in opposition to, as well as other organizations, is in the Ohio River Valley, where I live. I'm from Parkersburg, West Virginia. And that is the Appalachian Storage Hub. When you think storage hub, you kind of picture this one location where things are going to be centered around, and that's not really accurate. They do want to store, natural gas byproducts like ethane in salt caverns under and around the Ohio River, and that is part of the project. But this also involves a massive build out of oil and gas infrastructure up and down the Ohio River Valley. And that is something that the Sierra Club is heavily opposed to. I know other organizations like the Ohio Valley Environmental Coalition are even more opposed to that, or have not more opposed, but have worked tremendously towards stopping that build out. And we're very happy to partner with them. So litigation is a big part of what the Sierra Club is able to do with our resources, but also we like to get the message out to Congress, to our state legislature, that hey, we are here not only as watchdogs who can use litigation to benefit our environment and public health, but also we are going to back legislation. We are going to back candidates for public office, as we have in the primary and will in the general elections, who hold a stable climate and clean air, water, and soil as a core part of why they're running. We want to support them, and we do, we have, and we will, because we understand that public policy, along with court decisions and public action, education and activism and coalition building, these are all tools in addressing human-caused global climate change, in addressing clean air, water, and soil. And so in West Virginia, we're very excited to work towards those goals. I know we're holding questions to the end, but I'm happy to answer any of those questions. I want to thank all of the other organizations who are participating today. Moms Clean Air Force is an incredibly impressive organization. Thank you, Leah, for all that you do and for all that your organization nationally and statewide does. And I look forward to working with all of you in every capacity that we can. Sierra Club, as a national organization and as our West Virginia statewide chapter, has a lot of resources to be able to work with you. And we're all working toward the same goal: a stable climate, safe public health, and safe, clean water, air, and soil. So thank you so much for being here today, and thanks for this opportunity. And I'll drop a link here in the chat. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Okay, up next, Beth, are you ready?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be a part of this virtual event. I missed last year's in person, but 2 years ago I was there helping out with some kids' activities. And this is really nice to be able to share a little bit about what we do. So I am with the Department of Environmental Protection, the Youth Environmental Program. So it's a statewide program, and I personally have 10 counties in my district, including Upshur County. And we reach out to schools, 4-H clubs, scout groups, FFA, after-school groups, and we also include homeschool groups. And it is a free program that's designed to encourage young people to become aware of different environmental issues, and then it encourages them to take part in helping their environment in their local community. So we have more than $15,000 in cash awards that we give out each May, and we do that at North Bend State Park each year. And so different groups are encouraged to file a report each year, and maybe it's a classroom that they have learned about native fish. I know there are some classrooms in Upshur County that do that. They have like a little trout program, and they have fish in their classroom, and they learn about our native species. Maybe it's a group that has picked up litter through Adopt a Highway or Make It Shine programs. Those are also part of the Department of Environmental Protection. Or maybe it's just a 4-H group that has their own little recycling program. So if their leader files a report, then that makes them eligible to win cash prizes. And we also have a scholarship each year. So in addition to those incentives, we also just offer resources throughout the year. I miss my regular job of being in person with kids, going to classrooms, going to 4-H clubs, and we have hands-on activities that talk about water conservation. They talk about, one activity is called Freddy the Fish, and the kids take turns. I have a little tank with a little realistic looking paper fish taped to the back, and I talk about how Freddy swims downstream, and he swims past different, like a park where he thinks, oh, this is a park, maybe people here care about the environment, but then litter gets into the river, and so the kids take turns putting a disposable one-time single-use plastic fork, or they throw plastic like a McDonald's cup or something on top of poor little Freddy the Fish in his little tank. And it gives the kids a hands-on way of seeing that, yes, like there are things they can do to protect the environment, and then there are things that they might not realize that are hurting our waters. So I do all kinds of different activities like that. I also work with Project Wet and Project Learning Tree. Those are hands-on activities for kids. And we try to make it fun. And so now we're switching to as much virtual opportunities as we can. Two of our main events each year are the Junior Conservation Camp, which is in June each year in Ripley. We had to cancel that this year, so we made it virtual. So we canceled the in-person, but we did a series of videos that are available on YouTube. And we wanted kids to learn about their environment and help protect it. So it includes water, it includes native wildlife, like I said, recycling, soils, clean air, all of those great things. So it's great to see what the kids can do and learn about. And then we can help with them with cash awards. I am going to share my screen real quick and show the DEP website. So if you go to the main website, the Youth Environmental Program is here on the right-hand side inside DEP. And so this is our main page. You can enroll anytime. We have a lot of schools in the Upshur County area that are enrolled, but teachers come and go, principals come and go. So groups might be enrolled, but they might not realize that they could win money for stuff they're already doing to learn about the environment. But we have, like I said, we have Junior Conservation Camp. We also have a Youth Environmental Conference each fall, and that will also be virtual this year. So if anybody is interested in more information, please contact me or check out this page. And like I said, Adopt a Highway and Make It Shine are also programs that I help promote, and those are great. They're great at getting litter off of our beautiful roadways, and so they don't end up in our water. And there are a lot of different cool programs that on a community level, different groups can be involved with, and I'm happy to help in any way. So I will stop sharing my screen. And thank you so much. And sorry for my kids' noise in the background. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. So that's fun, working from home. I can't wait till things get back to normal. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth. Let's see, up next, Linda, are you ready to go?
I sure am. Thank you so much. My name's Linda Frame. I'm the president of the West Virginia Environmental Council. I thank you all for inviting us to participate in this event. April was on our board, and she is dearly missed by us, and we are happy to be here to honor her memory, and we miss her greatly, as I'm sure many of the folks on this meeting do. The Environmental Council has been around since about 1989, and we are the umbrella organization for environmental organizations across the state. Basically, our role has been to put together a lobby team for the state legislative session, each session. And as we like to say, we lobby for those of us who want clean air to breathe and clean water to drink. Several of the groups here are member groups of the Environmental Council, including West Virginia Rivers. They are one of our partners who we work with the most closely, perhaps, at the legislative session, I can honestly say, because of course there's always a tax on our water. So their staff advises us. We work on legislation. We fight bad legislation. We try to get good legislation passed through. And we have 30 years of accomplishments of things we've achieved and also policies we've been able to defeat. One of which goes back a ways, but it was the Cancer Creek, as we called it, dioxin standards back in the 90s. So we have a long history, and we're proud to have member groups who include, as I mentioned, Rivers Coalition, Sierra Club, Highlands Conservancy, and many more. You can read more about those groups at our website, which I will follow what other folks are doing and drop that into the chat box as well. So really what we do water-wise, like I just mentioned, is work with our partner groups at the Capitol, mostly statewide, but we will get involved federally as needed. We put out a weekly newsletter during the legislative session to make sure people know what action items they can do to participate in our democracy. And because we are a 501c4, we're able to do that, and we are able to lobby. We are going to be hosting a virtual annual meeting in November, and the timing of this is to be after the election, to kind of give us all a chance to exhale and talk about what 2021 may look like. Hopefully we'll have a better idea by then, but feel free to join that. We hold an annual meeting every year, obviously in the fall, and to learn more about that, I will again drop our link in there, and also our Twitter handle and our Facebook page. I would say that we used to just kind of have a 60-day presence and kind of go a little bit into hibernation for the rest of the year, but that's not the case anymore in our world. Interims are just as important to watch, and we are building to have a year-round presence with our organization. We don't have a staff, but we are looking to hire a part-time outreach person. If you know of anyone who has some lobbying chops, likes to get out there into the public and talk about clean water and clean air, please reach out to me. Because of COVID, we've had a little bit of delay in bringing somebody on board, but we are looking to put together our lobby team again for the session, as we always have for the last 30 years. So with that, I will pass it back and put some items in the chat. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Linda. Let's see, how about Kevin, are you on? Okay, we'll come back to Kevin. How about Callie?
Yes, I'm here. Hold on just a moment. I'll get my video started. Can you hear me okay, Autumn?
Yes.
Okay, great. Autumn and I yesterday, when we were doing a test run for the water plant video, I think I nearly blew up my system here, which probably wouldn't take much with what I'm working with. So I just wanted to make sure, but mostly I'll be brief. My name is Callie. I'm working with the city of Buchanan, and I just want to thank you all and all of your organizations for the work that you do to protect water here in our watershed and the Buchanan River watershed, as well as across the state. And so just thank you so much for what you're doing on the ground and out in the field and on the water, of course. I'll drop it into the chat box here now. We are hiring at our water plant here at the Buchanan Water Department, and so I'll go ahead and drop that in too. So if you want to work directly here in the Buchanan watershed and providing clean drinking water it's over, I think it's around 26,000 people, both through the city of Buchanan, but also the surrounding public service districts, we would love to have you, and can start out at entry level, but we're also looking for people who are already certified water operators. So either which way you come in, we would love to have you check that out and apply if you feel like it would be something you would be interested in. And in general, just on behalf of the city of Buchanan and the Buchanan Water Department and our stormwater and sewer departments and our streets and parks, I just wanted to thank you all, and especially thank Autumn and Kevin for helping make Riverfest go virtual, especially Autumn with helping us go virtual this year and getting this all together, and Kevin, all the work, of course, he's done and soliciting donations for our wonderful prizes. If you haven't already started, get to work on that scavenger hunt because that ends tomorrow at noon. And again, thank you so much for all the work you're doing out on the field.
Thanks, Callie. How about Martin? Are you ready to go?
Martin, you're on mute.
Hello, everybody. Great to see you all. All right. Now I can see you all. I'm Martin Christ. I work for the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection in the Watershed Improvement Branch. Our mission is to inspire and empower people to value and work for clean water. And we have a bunch of resources for citizens. The way I like to explain our work is that we show up when citizens say, "What can I do to help my river or stream?" Can I share material too, Autumn? Let me see if I can find what I want to share. So this is our website, and I'm going to drop a little bit of information, including the address here in the text. We have a lot of programs. Basically, we have both financial resources and technical, people who give opinions and talk and tell you things to help people who want to help their own water. This is the Save Our Streams program, where we don't currently have somebody, but we will soon have somebody who will help teach citizens to monitor, including chemistry, physical things, and benthic macroinvertebrates. This is the CBP, is the Chesapeake Bay program, with some special resources for parts of West Virginia that are in the Chesapeake Bay watershed. This is the Stream Partners program, which can give grants of $5,000 to watershed groups each year for projects that should be done within 1 year. This is the Non-Point Source program, which takes money from the EPA Non-Point Source program and helps eliminate non-point source pollution. A lot of projects are done to treat acid mine drainage. The Buchanan River Watershed Association has done a lot of those and improved a lot of streams in the Buchanan River watershed. It also can work on fecal coliform issues and sediment issues and other non-point source forms of pollution. This is Project WET, Water Education for Teachers. Tommy Bergstrom does this, and she puts together water festivals and other educational programs where elementary school kids, especially fifth graders, can get together and learn a ton of stuff about water all in a day. There are often county-wide water festivals where all the fifth graders get together and go through this. And this is the In Lieu Fee program. If development destroys or disturbs a wetland or stream resource, they have a few ways of making up for it, one of which is to put into the In Lieu Fee fund. And the In Lieu Fee program people find projects to do that restore or improve streams and wetlands. Okay, I'm going to plunk my information in and answer any questions.
And we're holding questions to the end.
Okay.
Kevin, are you ready?
Yes, I am. My goodness. My phone is off. All right.
I think you're logged in twice, and so you're coming in on 2 different feeds. So if you can mute either your phone or your computer.
The phone I got off.
Try it now. Oh, did we lose you, Kevin? Okay. Well, while
Let's
Kevin,
try again.
oh, there you are.
Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah, you're coming in good now.
All right. Having a horrible time with Zoom on the computer today. But I'm live from my temporary office at the Buchanan Opera House. So Mountain Lakes Preservation Alliance was formed back when ACP and MVP were first announced. Actually, MVP was announced first. And people were just not at all aware. They thought it was just another pipeline, you know, maybe 6-inch, maybe 12-inch. No big deal. There are pipelines running everywhere. And I was not involved in the first two meetings of MLPA, but I was involved in the effort with April. And after the first two meetings, she wanted me to come to the third one, and I didn't really question it, but on the way there, she told me she needed me there for security. And then explained that after the last meeting, they had attempted to run somebody off the road. So I went, and it was a large meeting over at Jackson's Mill, and it was very well attended. And some of the Lewis County Sheriff's Department showed up, and there weren't any issues except for a little bit of heckling. But it was obvious that we had struck a nerve with some people. And I started digging deeper into it just to educate myself more. I was very concerned as an EMT of the potential life-threatening harm, and also what a construction project of that magnitude would do to our communities, and what our communities would have to suffer during the construction. And I attended the early public meetings for ACP and virtually every meeting ever since, one way or the other. Mountain Lakes Preservation Alliance is a member of the Power Coalition, which is Preserve Our Water Heritage and Rights. And it's made up of member organizations from West Virginia through South Carolina. And it's also a member of ABRA, which is the Allegheny Blue Ridge Alliance. And that's member organizations from Virginia and West Virginia and North Carolina. And those two coalitions have managed to do tremendous things because they're the ones that got the funding from the big greens to file the lawsuits. But just filing the lawsuits wasn't enough. When April and I first sat down with Sierra Club 5 years ago, Sierra Club wasn't in the fight. Sierra Club was just transitioning from the point that they were calling natural gas a bridge fuel. And we took them on tours in this area, and we showed them what was happening here, and especially in Doddridge County and Wetzel County. How the infrastructure build out was destroying everything in its path. Personally, I was working as an EMT in Doddridge County at the time, and we were getting poor outcomes just from patient transport because we couldn't get past the traffic to get people to the hospital. People in Doddridge County have to go 45 minutes one way or the other to get to a hospital. And if it takes another 30 minutes to get to them, it could be life-threatening. MLPA did a lot of public meetings to inform people about what was going on. We brought in speakers from all over the country. We did these meetings quarterly in the first couple of years until they got FERC approval. We also spent weekends and had teams working in 3 different counties to go out weekly and do water sampling across the streams that these pipelines were going to cross. April and I had already been monitoring the Stonewall gathering line through Braxton County and Lewis County for years, just prior to construction and then continuing after construction. And basically Precision Pipeline proved what a horrible organization they were as far as being environmentally conscious. They did tremendous damage along the Stonewall pipeline, and a lot of it still isn't repaired, and a lot of it is still in need of repair because there have been tremendous slips on these steep slopes. So
Kevin, you muted yourself. Kevin? Kevin, did you freeze?
yeah, well, the phone rang and froze up. Sorry. We invested in drones so we could go out and see areas that we couldn't see from right away. And we monitored the heck out of everything, basically. And as a result, after seeing how poorly a lot of things were done day after day, week after week, we started to get really burned out, and we decided that, hey, we need something to counteract this. So let's go back to Upshur County where we live and look at the resources and look at the river, and let's celebrate the river. And let's, instead of going and having public meetings and telling people how much construction, especially pipelines, can jeopardize all of this, let's go back, let's celebrate it. Let's show them again what a wonderful asset it is. And maybe then we can get some more people involved in wanting to protect it. And now in the 4th year of Riverfest, we're still on the same mission. Let's get people together. Let's celebrate what we have. Let's try to get some renewed interest in protecting it. I know everybody's busy. Among other things, I'm taking on a 2-year-old in my life right now that needs a father full time. So I'm spread thin. I'm hoping that some of the people that are attending today, and we're having great attendance today, will seriously think, what can I do to protect this for my kids and my grandkids? Because these government agencies, they keep getting their budgets cut, they keep getting their manpower cut. There's only 17 environmental inspectors right now for the whole state of West Virginia, and there's 55,000 active wells. How's it work? The only thing that'll keep us from all dying, literally, is citizen groups that go out there and do the legwork and then take the results of the government and say, this is what we found at these coordinates. Then it can't be ignored. But it's tough, and it gets tougher by the day as you age. So I appeal to everybody on the call, please get involved. Try to get your kids involved. This is their future at stake. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Do we have anybody on from the Buchanan River Watershed Association?
Wow, I thought Donnie Tanny was going to join us. All right. Well, BRWA, Martin, you can help with this a little bit. Martin works directly with BRWA, meets with us monthly. Quarterly, we meet with a lot of other agencies that are involved in the work we do. But BRWA is hands-on work directly for the Buchanan River watershed. And its main function is to educate the public about the watershed, but also to work with contractors and government entities to try to prioritize which of the streams entering our watershed are doing the most damage and what we can do to mitigate it. And those mitigation projects take years. Currently, we just awarded a contract to Solid Rock Excavating to remediate acid mine drainage down at the old Alton mine. And this project is called Swamp Run 2. We already have a Swamp Run filtration system. This is the second one, and it will consist of settling ponds that are built out of limestone so that the acid water settles in those ponds, neutralizes, filters through additional ponds, and then some peat before it enters into a natural wetland. So we're trying to preserve an existing wetland and also prevent acid mine drainage from entering the Buchanan River ultimately. In other areas of the county, we have streams that are impaired with fecal coliform, some of it from agriculture, some of it from humans and septic systems that have failed. We have to study those. This is what Martin referred to as non-point source pollution. We don't really know where it's coming from. We know where it's ending up. And it takes public meetings and public involvement in order to get those sources located so we come up with a corrective action. And it might cost the landowner a little bit of money, but generally there's grant money out there that we can get to cover the majority of this, but they have to be willing to cooperate with us, the landowners, to get it done. Or the ranchers, if it's their cattle that are causing the problem. There's programs out there to assist them, but like most rural West Virginians, if you knock on the door and say you're from the government, they just want to slam it in your face. So we have plans to have some community meetings to address some of those things, but we haven't been able to do that this year because of COVID. We're behind on our projects a little bit. This one that was just awarded, it took us almost 2 years to find a contractor willing to do it, and we had to find more money for the project twice. But we take funds directly from the government, and part of the program gets monitored by WVU people. But BRWA is charged with the task of literally taking the money and getting the job done, again, using nothing more than volunteers. We do have a part-time paid executive director. She does all the paperwork, which it's really hard to get volunteers to do. But that's it. We have no staff. So many of these organizations are again, they're critical. This organization is absolutely critical to the Buchanan River watershed and keeping it clean and improving it dramatically over the last, I don't know how many years now. I wish Paul Richter was on. He's the best historian we've got.
Kevin, we're gonna need to get to our last panelist. If you can.
All right. Well, I'll shut up. But the other thing BRWA does is a little bit of community education. You'll find us at the Pancake Festival and some other things. We were at E-Day down at the Capitol this year, and we meet once a month, and I believe our meetings are always put into the Record Delta, but generally it's the second Wednesday of the month here in Buchanan. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Laura, take it away.
Get myself unmuted. Thank you for letting me be a part of this today. I'm with the Upshur County Convention and Visitors Bureau. So really our organization is here to represent and promote the tourism industry in Buchanan and Upshur County and really the surrounding region and all of West Virginia. As I'm sitting here listening to everybody, I think it's absolutely amazing that we have people who are community activists. We have people who are working with our legislators. We have people who are working on preservation. Everybody's working together for this common goal, and that's for clean waterways for whatever purpose we all benefit from. But I think it's so important that we can all kind of come together from all different mindsets and all different walks of life to, you know, have this purpose. So I'm really happy to be a part of it because I feel like I really don't have that much involvement directly, but it certainly helps us as we're promoting Buchanan and Upshur County and just really what we have here. And with the Buchanan River, and of course we have other rivers in our area, but we largely focus on the Buchanan River. But when we can tell people, hey, you can come here and you can easily throw your kids in the river and let them swim. You're able to fish and know you're catching healthy, clean fish. We know that people can put a kayak in and just not have any concerns about the water quality. It helps our industry so much just to have healthy, vibrant communities, residents who are taking advantage of our waterways, and then just attracting those visitors because, you know, you think of people who are coming from large cities into West Virginia and just seeing clean water and having clean riverbeds and the banks and everything, and just having all of that together is a really huge asset for our communities. You know, we work on a number of projects, and again, I'm not directly involved, but I kind of thrive off of people like you who do the hard work. But we're always promoting, you know, where those different fishing access points are, and we have people from all over the country who are coming in. They're visiting West Virginia, and they'll call or they'll stop in our offices, and they want a fishing map and they want to know where the best spots are. We just produced a river access rat card where people can know where the boat launches are, so they can easily take their kayaks or canoes and access the river, either the river or even the lakes in our area. So those are the types of things we're trying to do. We have a strong social media presence to where we're always, you know, just promoting that and letting people know it's here, it's accessible. We want them to take advantage of it because when we have, again, our local people taking advantage of it and our visitors coming in, that just benefits everybody in the community. Our small businesses are thriving off of our natural industry with the waterways. So we're really happy about it. And I think it's really important too. I mean, we're talking about Buchanan and Upshur County, but this is really statewide and a national concern and issue that everybody should have a vested interest in. It's so important. And just hearing, you know, from the preservation side, it just gets my interest piqued because you sometimes take it for granted. But I'm thankful to be a part of this group. I'm thankful for what we have, the assets we have here in Buchanan. And I'm just thankful for all the work of everybody involved today and people who can't be on the call too. So.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank
We
you.
definitely appreciate you being here from the, you know, the tourism and the economic side of things. So that concludes our introductions for all of the groups that are present at our virtual roundtable. And we would welcome any questions from the audience. You can unmute yourself or type your questions into the chat box. And all of our panelists are available to answer questions. So if you have a question for a specific organization, you can ask them, or if you have a question that you would just like to be answered from all of the different perspectives that we have at the table, that's an option too. So do we have any questions? I know I have a question, if no one from the audience has a question yet. So one of the questions that I always get from people is, what is our biggest threat to our water? And that answer has evolved over time and with more experience. But I'm very curious to hear what other people's answer is if they receive that question from the public and what their response is. Well, I'll just volunteer how I answer that question. I used to say, oh, well, there's the coal industry and there's, you know, the natural gas industry and you know, there's timber projects and there's development and there's all of these projects that have an impact on our water resources. But what it all boils down to, in my opinion, is regulations. And if we have proper regulations in place for all of these industries, there would be much fewer impacts on our water resources. So, you know, several years ago, I used to list off all of these different industries, manufacturing industries, chemical manufacturing, all of these different industries that pollute our waters, even, you know, failing septic tanks and really when I looked at each industry and why that industry was able to pollute our water is that there wasn't adequate regulations and oversight and enforcement of those industries. So now when I get answered that question, I say, well, it's a matter of regulations and oversight and enforcement of those regulations, and also people voicing their concerns for water resources. And if we have people that are voicing their concerns for water resources, then there is less of a chance that there are weak regulations and little oversight of those industries. Anybody else have an answer to that question?
I have a different answer. I think the issue in West Virginia at this time is not as much lack of regulations, but lack of enforcement, and that there's virtually no criminal penalties ever, and the monetary penalties are ridiculously low after they're negotiated away. Jim Justice settled some 30,000 fines on mines for clean water violations at the rate of about, what, $30 a piece, and some of them could have been up to $50,000 a day. It was just insanely reduced. It was way below a penny on a dollar. And that's not fair, because those fines should be paying to hire more inspectors. we have the same problem with the oil and gas. Just looking at abandoned wells out there. The gas is worth so little money right now that the well owners will just let it spew rather than go out and plug it because it costs 10 grand to properly plug it. There's no money set aside to remediate those wells when they're abandoned. So we have regulations on the books. Yeah, we do need to strengthen them in some areas, but we need to enforce them in all areas, and there need to be more severe penalties.
Yeah, I agree. We have a comment from an audience member about litter and plastic is the most visible export from West Virginia that we can eliminate. Does anybody have comments on how to address the litter issue?
Well, Autumn, this is Eric from Sierra Club, and I know that addressing litter is an extremely important issue. Recycling all that we can is an extremely important issue to try to preserve the life of the landfills that we have without overburdening them sooner than what they need to be overburdened and having to create new landfills. But one thing, an organization, MOVCA, that I mentioned earlier that I'm chairman of, in June, we showed the documentary film, The Story of Plastics. And, that's a really eye-opening look at what an enormous global problem plastics production is. And the oil and gas industry, as it continues to operate in the red and lose money and face stranded assets with the production of, or the use of oil and natural gas for energy, is turning to plastics and much more plastics production. That's what the Appalachian Storage Hub that I mentioned earlier is all about. The production of more plastics, not gas or oil-based petroleum energy. So, first, recycling is incredibly important. Removing litter from our highways and byways is incredibly important so that it doesn't wind up in our rivers and streams. But as incredibly important as these measures are, they're not enough. We have to get to the source of plastics production, and we have to stop producing plastics to such an enormous degree. And one way to think about that is that 40% of the plastics market today is single-use plastics, what's referred to as disposable plastic. We can cut that out of our lives right now today. I mean, that's things like lids and straws and plastic water bottles. Those could be eliminated in our lives today. Those are not necessary part of our lives. Now, I understand that a lot of other plastics, like medical grade plastics and the plastics we have in our automobiles and phones and all of that, that's a little bit harder to get rid of. And we need to be looking for alternatives to that are not petroleum-based polymers that are sustainable and biodegradable. And that takes longer-term research and development and heavy investment, public and private. But in the meantime, single-use plastics, 40% of that market could be gone tomorrow. And those are really the major sources of your litter. If you're going to pick up litter, what do you see? You see cigarette butts, you see plastic water bottles, straws, lids, cups, things that are just absolutely unnecessary consumer products that should not be littering our state, that should not be entering our waterways, because they shouldn't even be used. That part of the plastics market should just be eliminated by consumers no longer accepting that. So I think that's a big part of that issue, but thank you.
Thanks, Eric. That's a really good answer. We do have a program through West Virginia DEP. Martin, are you on to talk about the REAP? Could you briefly mention the REAP program that we have? Martin, you're on mute.
Am I still? Yep, no. I do not, I'll find links and pop them in. I don't know all the details on the REAP program, but they do help citizens pick up trash by supplying bags and gloves and by providing for the pickup of all the trash that is collected. And I'll drop some links.
Great, thanks, Martin. And I know we usually have the Make It Shine event in West Virginia, and that's usually in the spring, where across the state groups get together, watershed groups get together, and it's a massive statewide effort to clean up our litter. And unfortunately, we weren't able to have that this spring because of COVID. But I think there are a lot of watershed groups and community groups that are trying to figure out how to do litter cleanups that are socially distanced. So that is something that we can work on to clean up some of that.
About that. So REAP, it operates the Adopt a Highway, Adopt a Spot, and Make It Shine, as well as some of the other, like they usually do tire cleanups. They're hoping to start that up again. They're also going to have an Adopt a Stream program. They were working on a pilot program this year. Because of the pandemic, it was delayed, but that is in legislation. It needs to be tweaked a little bit, but that will be a statewide program eventually, but they need funding for it. But it'll be interesting. It'll be great to see when folks can adopt a stream, how that works with everything else, works hand in hand with the highways program where you can adopt a highway. So that'll be really neat. That is something that we help promote. With the Youth Environmental Program, we promote Adopt a Highway and Make It Shine. So we will also promote Adopt a Stream someday down the road. And yes, it'll be great to get the the big cleanups, the fall cleanups and the spring cleanups for litter and for tires and all those collection events. It'll be great when those can go back to normal.
Thank you, Beth. And I'll just quickly add to what Beth was saying. We have had the Community and Kindness event in the fall that's kind of aligned both with Make It Shine and Adopt a Highway. We've had Adopt the Highways, Make It Shines, and river cleanups that have been connected to our big Community and Kindness event. And we promote that through our Buchanan Volunteer Center, which you can find on our website, which is buchananwv.org /volunteer. And I can drop that link in the chat box as well. Of course, this year, I don't know that we're going to be able to have that in person as we have in the past 2 years, but we might set up through the Volunteer Center's database, which is online already anyway, some Make It Shines or cleanup events at our local parks or with the river that you could get involved with. That's a nice thing about cleanups and outdoors. You can socially distance fairly easily, and it's a little safer to be outdoors as well. And in the spring, we have also participated in Make It Shine cleanups, but of course that didn't happen this year. So certainly if you're in the local area and in the Buchanan watershed and you'd like to get involved in the Adopt a Highway or Make It Shine events that we have here locally, you can not only reach out to Beth, but you could also reach out to us here at the city and the Volunteer Center.
I'm with the Rotary Club, and I'm located in Morgantown North Rotary, but I'm an assistant governor involved with the district. And Rotary has become basically statewide. They had a north and a southern district combined, and they're looking for projects that can be done throughout the state, can be done in small groups. So I think I'll be back in touch. I was the one that asked the question about litter, but I'm hoping that we can get Rotary involved throughout the state on the litter issue. So I just wanted to mention that, and we're calling it the birthplace of pristine rivers as a kind of a handle, and look forward to work with West Virginia Rivers and all the organizations to try to pull it off.
Thanks, John. That sounds great. Do we have any other questions from the audience? We have such a powerhouse group of panelists here. Let's, feel free to try to stump the experts that we have.
I just want to point out, Linda had mentioned that we're pro certain bills and against certain bills with the Environmental Council and their lobbying efforts. Right now, fracking has slowed dramatically in West Virginia, which is good. We've got more water in our streams and rivers than we've had in some years. And they've also set up with designated withdrawal points. You're not allowed to just take water out from anywhere. But it's 6 to 8 million gallons per frac. A lot of water is still coming out of West Virginia's rivers, including the Ohio. And industry does not pay for that at all. Legislation has been introduced in the last couple of years to put a fee on that at 1 penny per gallon. And there was enough fight in Charleston to even fight that down for the last 2 years. The waters of West Virginia belong to the people of West Virginia, not the industries of West Virginia. And our state needs to quit giving it away, because we don't get it back unless it's already been poisoned. So just some common sense legislation would make a huge difference. That 1 penny per gallon could pay for a whole lot of inspection and a whole lot of stream bed cleanup.
Yeah. I'll make a comment. This is Maury Johnson from down in Monroe County. In 2009, I was at the state Democratic dinner in Charleston, and Joe Manchin was the president of the State Governors Association, and he had just been to the big national meeting, and he came back, and it just stuck with me. He was speaking of West Virginia and what he was had presented at the governor's conference. I think it was actually held in New Mexico, and he said this to the crowd, that the state of California governor and the New York governor and several governors said, Joe, we don't really care that much about your coal and your gas and your oil. We'd love to have your water. And I'll just leave it at that. We need to protect our water, not just from pollution, but also exportation by some conglomerate that pays West Virginia nothing for it, or gets it cheaply and then makes huge profits. So that's I had a professor at Concord that said that the next great war will be over water. And you'll see that around the world, the conflicts over water.
Yeah, that's a great point, Maury. We have such a precious resource in this state, and so encouraged to see all of the groups joining us from all over the states, and all over, all of the individuals that have participated throughout the week with Buchanan River Fest. It's tough times right now that we can't be together. We wish we could be in person, but it's just great to see all of these faces on the screen that are all working together to protect our water resources.
Hey, Autumn, only one more comment real quick. So my daughter is in the Navy and she's in San Diego, was in San Diego. And a few years ago, everybody knows the water crisis in California. They just don't have good water. They don't have enough of it. And we were going to San Francisco. I was out there. She wanted to go to San Francisco. So we were driving up through California, and there was a big news flash that the California researchers had found a new source of water at like 20,000 feet deep, and there was enough water to meet the needs of California for the next 20 years. It had already been contaminated by the oil and gas industry before they ever found it.
Any other questions for our panelists or comments? Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. We have a few more days of Riverfest. This afternoon at 4, our Music for the River starts. Pearson Keating will be doing a solo performance on piano. So if you're wanting to end your workday or your afternoon with some really inspiring piano music, I definitely recommend you join that. We will have 2 door prizes today for the 2 different events. So we'll draw a name from this event, and then we'll also draw a name from the music this afternoon, and announce those tomorrow. And then tomorrow, our music continues at 4 o'clock for our Friday happy hour Music on the River. And that's featuring Ime and Carrie and Michael Klein and Seth Maynard. Oh, we have a question on how to register for the conference. Yes, I can drop those links into the chat box. Let me just pull those up really quick. And then on Saturday, we will have the closing ceremony, the water blessing and blending. And that will be Saturday at noon. And so let me just drop this into the chat box really quick so you'll have the registration for, oops, let me send it to everyone.
Autumn, while you're doing that, I wanted to announce our winner from yesterday was our new pastor at Holy Rosary Church, Father Ed Teta.
Yes. Yes, so everyone today will be entered in to win a door prize. And then we also have our scavenger hunt that will be ending tomorrow at noon. And so I highly recommend entering that scavenger hunt. There's a lot of really easy questions, and you just take a selfie and answer the question and email it to us. There's a series of 5 questions, so it's really easy. And you can just email us at wvrivers.org, and I will also drop the scavenger hunt instructions into the chat box. And the prizes for our scavenger hunt, Kevin has gone above and beyond with those prizes. The prizes are kayaking trips on the Buchanan River. So Laura was talking about what a phenomenal resource is for tourism and recreation. And so the scavenger hunt is in the chat box. So if you enter your entries, your answers to the questions and your selfies, and you can win. There's a youth category and an adult category. So you can, for the youth category, you can get your kids involved and they can win you a family kayaking trip. Or the adult category, you can have 2 couples trips down the Buchanan River. And then the grand prize winner for the scavenger hunt will be awarded the April Pearson Keating Water Warrior, and also win a all-day excursion for up to 10 people with a picnic lunch with day trip and adventures, and that would also be on the Buchanan River. So we've got some great scavenger hunt prizes. So I definitely encourage you to enter into the scavenger hunt to be eligible to receive those great prizes. So that's all I had. Thank you all so much for joining us today. This has been such a engaging discussion around our wonderful water resources and all of these amazing people are doing to protect them. So look forward to seeing you the rest of the week and working with you on protecting our water resources in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Autumn.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Everybody.